Hi everyone. I'm Toby Turtle, the official mascot of STO Summit Spring 2025. We're excited to share the recorded sessions from the world's leading summit on security tokens and real-world assets. Now, let's dive into today's talk from one of our global leaders. Hey Augustine, over to you.
Let's welcome Herwig Konings, CEO of STM, to discuss building the largest decentralized RWA community.
Nice to meet everybody. Thank you to our host, Augustine, for putting together the STO Summit, all these other great speakers that are here. So I really am thankful to be here. And to all of you who are watching, of course, we're excited to tell you more about stm.co. Okay, great. So I'm going to jump right into it, guys. I'm going to take a macro step because I know a lot of the presentations before we're already getting into the details of tokenization. Maybe some of you are already returning from last time's summit last year, which was awesome. But I like to kind of use the analogy of what Steve Jobs did to the music industry in terms of the iPod, right? This concept that essentially digitizing music so that it could be put all on one device, revolutionized how we listen to music, how we basically accessed it eventually. And I believe tokenization is doing the same thing simply to the world's asset. Instead of just music IP, we're now being able to access stocks, real estate, bonds, and more. And if we think about that just from a history perspective, I really look at it as three major changes, and we're kind of going back to basics of sorts because we used to be able to manage our own certificates. It used to be done through in 1602, the Dutch Stock Exchange in Amsterdam was formed to basically start trading private shares of the East India Trading Company, and then ultimately wanted to be able to sell that to the public. And so they had to create an exchange where they used these paper certificates essentially to trade. It wasn't until a paper crisis in the 1960s that led to the NASDAQ and really the formation of digitized securities. Instead of holding them on like bearer bonds or like pieces of paper, we now are able to track them, and use them digitally. And we saw a lot of improvements on the front end. We saw a lot of, with the advent of the internet, improvements on access. But at the end of the day, the plumbing on the back end is pretty much still what we use today, unfortunately. And that's why in 2009, when we saw the advent of Bitcoin, it really introduced the biggest fundamental change since the 1970s, since the 1600s. Which is the concept of open sourcing capital markets. They used to be centralized, right, via exchanges, via different marketplace providers, whether you're talking about currency markets, commodities, public stocks, private companies and businesses, right, which have very few venues. You've got real estate markets, which are vast and broad, and REITs and other securitizations have been innovations, but still, it's a vastly illiquid market. Bonds, debt markets, and everything else, they're now being put on the same operating system, just like we were talking about with the iPod. So that now someone can go with their wallet and select which asset do they want to listen to today, which assets do they want to buy, right? This is a fundamentally massive shift to how we look at finance, the same way that the internet revolutionized the way that we could access it digitally and also use it to store it on centralized databases. As we all know, this is happening today. This isn't really a question of if anymore. It's more of when, right? Stable coins are the RWAs that have been hidden in plain sight, as I like to say. Hundreds of billions that have powered trillions in transactions in just the last year alone. And it's on pace to be, trillions in the next few years, according to some, citations. I think that's pretty accurate. That's why we see some of the biggest leaders like BlackRock and JP Morgan endorse this. That's why we already see all different use cases, from collateral movement to actual back office changes and savings to different asset classes like trade finance or repo markets that are now done vastly, all mostly on chain, actually, in terms of the new technology. So we recently had a conference in New York City, Tokenize This. We actually are very excited to bring together the industry to talk about these different trends as well in real life. So if you want to come to New York City next year, check it out. We also have a lot of panels available on YouTube. But you have a lot of the speakers that we have here. You already heard from Ed. He's looking good right there. And mostly, you're hearing from a lot of these topics already today. So you're in good hands here with Augustine. But as a quick update for everybody, there is, a really big change in the air in the United States. And this all starts with stable coins because ultimately those 200 plus billion are mostly US dollar based stable coins. And that means it's good for the US debt, right? We're essentially giving IOUs out to the farthest stretches of the world and into the blockchain, if you will. And that is very good. Tether was the seventh largest buyer of US Treasuries last year, just as a sort of perspective. It's mostly otherwise countries. This is now the administration, right, with the White House and with the new SEC and with a lot of even the Fed and others are recognizing the impact that this is having, which is forcing some kind of clarity in the next 2 to 4 years, which is very exciting because it does help set a standard for the world, help with adoption all around, even though the world will leave the US behind in innovation, as we've seen in the past couple of years with a lot of crypto. But we all know their markets are going on chain. So we've been trying to develop a community, basically for anyone to be able to go to a website and learn about this space, actually keep up, if you will. We've been tracking the market since 2018. We've been doing podcasts every week since 2019. Episode 282 just released. We have over 60 billion in tokenized assets. There's a lot of reports out there about what's been tokenized. The reality is whether it's private or permissioned or public, if it's an asset that's being put on chain to be able to be accessible in this new environment, we want to track it because people could be buying it and using it, and that's information we want to know. So you can check out all of this at our brand new platform that we released that tokenized this, at least in beta. So that's at stm.co. So you can go kind of filter through and learn about a lot of these different tokens that are out there. Again, we're looking to track everything. So if you have an asset, please come reach out to me so we can learn about listing it. We are trying to collect not just blockchain level data, but the asset level data. We're trying to power, interactive charts. So that you can have all of that fun stuff that's out there to track the market. But most importantly, we'll keep up our news and research on the market so you can stay up to date what's happening with these different RWAs and in the market itself. And eventually, we do like to get into the opportunity to help you manage your portfolio by connecting your wallet or connecting to our different partners to be able to kind of interact and engage, maybe even find other traders to connect with. So there's a large world out there already that's spearheading tokenization. In fact, we've identified over 250 billion in tokenized assets that are coming on chain through different pipelines and different partners that have signed on clients. So this industry is growing extremely fast. Please think of us as the heart of the industry for you. We want to bring you all the news, all the latest data. We want to build a community. We have our in-person event, and we're trying to track the whole market. Check out the RWA Foundation, which is another thing that we are launching. You can go to YouTube. I was going to pull it up, but Zoom is giving me problems. You can look up our trailer. Meet WALLY, who is trying to bring crypto natives together. So we're launching a DAO that's bringing together a lot of different industry and bringing together a community of crypto natives focused on RWAs. We can maybe talk about that a little bit more, but I know we're short on time, so I'll just let us get back right to it. Augustine, you can go ahead and, I guess, introduce the next panel.
Thanks for joining us at STO Summit Spring 2025. Stay curious, stay connected, and remember, the future is tokenized.